if you're looking for a job in the Cincinnati area, we've got career counselor Tommy Tuberville on the show today. He's got a line on a job that should be open pretty soon.
And it's Marathon Day here in New York, and we check in on Texas A&M. The early report is that they tripped, threw up, and then quit a mile in.
Well, unfortunate. All that and more this week on Wake Up College Football.
I want to shake the hand of the guy that played bass on that track, on the intro track.
What if it's not? What if it's just a computer generated?
Or a lady who played bass? Yes.
Okay.
That would be fun if it was computer generated. All right. So week 10 is done with.
Yeah.
And it was a doozy.
Yeah, we're into election week now, which is why I'm wearing my special. You probably can't see it.
Let's see if we can get on the close-up shot. See if we can get it. There it is.
Yeah, that's my I punted sticker because if you're an SEC East voter, you should just punt.
Or SEC West at this point too.
At least the SEC West has teams that you can be somewhat interested and proud of.
True.
Also, the SEC West made the SEC East leader look terrible.
Very true
so
as well.
There's that.
Let's stay with the SEC to begin with, because the headline game in Week 10 was LSU Alabama in Death Valley and Baton Rouge. And to start us off, we're going to do a mini game show.
Ooh.
I have 3 questions. The third one is
a game show from Dan Morgenstein.
I know.
This
Unprecedented.
This is rare.
This is rare. Yards per attempt for Jalen Hurts versus the total
through the air.
Through the air. Yards per attempt passing versus Danny Etling's quarterback rating. His total QBR. His QBR.
Oh boy. So this
100 is the best.
Right. This is one of those things where I'm like, college QBR, isn't it like the SAT where you start with 200 and you can only go up from there?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it has to be the yards per attempt higher.
It is Danny Etling by 0.1.
Oh, so
his QBR
close.
was 5.7. Okay, I'm with it. Okay,
all right.
Leonard Fournette's total yards rushing, or your age?
I think it's my age. I'm pretty sure.
He edged you out by 2 yards.
Oh, okay. He had 34.
He had 28 yards.
Oh, yep.
That's right.
Congratulations, Leonard Fournette.
Final question.
Yeah.
When was the last time Alabama scored only 1 touchdown in a game that they won?
That they won.
Only 1 touchdown.
Oh my God. 1883.
The answer is 2012 in the national championship game against LSU.
Oh my.
But 1 touchdown and like 9 field goals or something like that.
Right.
6 field goals.
Awesome.
I don't know what the math is. And the second part of that is, when was the last time LSU got shut out?
Well, I mean, I think you've given.
Other than last night.
I think you've given that. Yeah. The LSU Alabama has quickly become.
No, they didn't get shut out in that game. Or maybe they got shut out, but they've been shut out since.
Okay, when's the last time LSU got shut out?
2014.
Against?
I'm gonna look right here.
Yeah.
No, go Hogs. November.
Oh, that's right.
2014.
That's right.
Yeah, not 2 years ago.
Bro, LSU Alabama is quickly. It's like when before this last one, when they kept making Rocky movies, and you were like, this just looks sad.
It's getting weird.
This just looks sad.
Yeah. Okay. The headline of that game is it was a not fun game to watch. If you like defense, it was fun. There was a lot of NFL talent on the field, but it was not a complete game because teams could not make adjustments offensively to move the ball at all, be it with a Purdue transfer quarterback or a true freshman.
Right.
It's sort of to be expected against these types of defenses.
Well, it had all the makings of a game that could have been really interesting because LSU gets the ball 3 times inside Alabama. Starts with the ball 3 times inside Alabama territory. They get no points and a grand total of, across those 3 drives, -3 yards. What the hell? Like, maybe it's our fault for believing in a Purdue transfer.
True.
And believing that Leonard Fournette would, even though he hasn't done it 2 years in a row, this would be the year that he broke out and whatever, but...
LSU left a ton on the field. They left opportunities on the field, as you mentioned.
And they wasted a hell of a defensive effort.
They wasted an unbelievable defensive effort. Jamal Adams with that early pick. Arden Key had a huge game.
The 4th down stop on the goal line.
Yep, huge stops. And it felt like, even going into this game, the only way that they were going to get an offense going is if the mid-range passing game existed on some level. Whether it was 8-yard hitches, whatever the case may be. It just was not there. Danny Etling was garbage.
He was pretty inaccurate at times. He made some of those throws, but by and large,
in his defense, how much time did he have to throw the ball?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Alabama winds up with 5 sacks. They now lead the nation in sacks per game. All of those sacks came from different guys, which is the really terrifying part about playing Alabama, is that you can't just sort of scheme and say, like, oh, he's the one who hurts our quarterback. Let's stop him. It's like, nope, it's all of them.
To what degree has Alabama, in your mind, either distanced themselves or come back to the pack in terms of top 5, 6-ish teams in the country?
I don't think this changes it drastically. I think this was Alabama's probably sloppiest game of the year in a very tough road environment against a team that, you know, has one unit that's very, very, very talented.
Right.
Jalen Hurts didn't look great throwing the ball, but he only really made the one mistake. And after that, he was elusive enough on not exactly designed runs, I wouldn't say, but he did what they need. He did what Alabama needed him to do.
Right.
And ultimately, I mean, I don't want to read too much into this game just because it feels shaky to sort of say, well, look what LSU had done against all these other teams that had sort of faded down the stretch and read too much into that. I mean, Bama's still Bama. Newsflash.
Let's read into something else, though, that we are positive we can.
Okay.
One of the playoff teams from last week is no longer one of the playoff teams we assume.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, even though they do lose Trevor Knight early on in this game, he did not look particularly good.
Nope.
And they allowed an offense that had struggled a good amount this year. Nick Fitzgerald, certainly he has the talent and has shown flashes of talent, but he did not put together a game up until this point, especially on the ground, like he did against Texas A&M.
Yeah, 365 yards allowed on the ground, over 6 yards carry, 3 touchdowns. This was a bad time, Texas A&M, to have your worst game of the year against the run. What I like about this time of the year is that I think of the beginning of the season until we get to the first college football playoff ranking as sort of the audition period of American Idol, where like everybody gets to come through, and we're like, sure, Old Miss,
seem all right.
you're up there. Miami, yeah, you want to be ranked super high at one point. Florida, you're top whatever. And then now we've sort of got to the cut line where we've weeded out all of those.
Got to show a little more.
We're just like, okay, now we are to the serious auditions. A&M had its audition. It went very badly.
It went atrociously, and I'll check. I'm assuming Kevin Sumlin and Texas A&M have a history of like really improving in November.
Oh, come on.
Really fixing everything and getting things together, and John Chavis's defense has stopped the run.
The good news is they still can go 10-2.
Absolutely.
They have 3 home games left. Those are against Ole Miss, UTSA, and LSU.
All winnable.
Those are all winnable. And
although
I think
UTSA kind of they're kind of pretty good.
Go Roadrunners. I think if you go 10-2 this year with Texas A&M, that's still a very, very solid season.
It's a win.
A very, very solid season. Another team that I would say was on the audition stage this week in a kind of a different way, but still hanging around. Had conference championship aspirations. Nebraska.
Yes.
They nearly got tripled up yardage wise. They didn't force Ohio State to punt. I mean, this was. Let's be clear. There was a very bad injury in this game, and we're glad that it didn't.
It wasn't worse. Tommy Armstrong has movement in all of his lims. He's conscious. It was just a very
showed back up at the game.
Yes, was back at the game.
So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Nebraska. I don't know if Nebraska fans really thought that Nebraska belonged here in the first place. Maybe they did. I think after this game, we can safely say, no, you will not be continuing on this season of college football playoff. Yeah,
we've seen it this season. We see it every year a few times where there's a team that just like keeps hanging around and like, well, they're winning the close breaks and whatever. And then when all of a sudden they stop winning the close breaks, it goes downhill.
Or when they have to play a team that margin doesn't exist. Right. You actually have to outplay them to beat them.
Right. And we saw that earlier this year with Tennessee before losing, a couple times. But the way they lost to Alabama
was just like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything has been exposed. Okay, so where else? I mean, is there anything you want to say, Ohio State-wise, other than Nebraska falling to a place where they probably should be? Ohio State opened up that offense. J.T. Barrett, I mean, the throwing was a little inconsistent, but they opened it up in a significant way.
Continue to score on defense, which,
Scored on defense.
I think that's the most interesting thing about this Ohio State team is that even though the offense has its ups and downs, the defense is so reliable and so able to generate points of its own that it's very hard to look at anybody left on the schedule, including Michigan.
Yeah.
That's I think the X factor for the Michigan game is can Michigan on offense keep a clean sheet against that defense and just not let them score.
This is very true. And the fact that they got Curtis Samuel more involved offensively, both in the backfield and in the passing game. Mike Weber runs very hard. And we can transition very easily to Michigan, who did away with Maryland without breaking a sweat, it seemed. The defense is probably...
And prove that Jim Harbaugh can get out more.
Jim Harbaugh,
you know, for some of these games, I think he should be going to the movies. I think he should be reading, maybe taking a pottery class. Whatever.
He's such a bad potter. He gets so angry.
No, he's got gentle hands.
He's got gentle hands. No, I think the big takeaway in this game was Wilton Speight. Wilton Speight, I think, set a Michigan record for yardage in the first half. He was incredibly efficient, threw for over 300 yards pretty quickly, and Michigan is building depth with these huge halftime leads that they're able to have for, say, a Big Ten championship game, say the Ohio State game, say a playoff game. They're now much deeper than they were early on in the season. So, impressive, obviously.
We'll stay in the Big Ten for this last audition of sorts. Penn State. Kind of quietly pretty good. Trace McSorley is second in the Big Ten in yards per pass attempt.
Extremely efficient yesterday.
He has 14 touchdowns to 3 interceptions on the year, which is a great ratio. Saquon Barkley, amongst Big Ten players with at least 100 rushing attempts, he leads in yards per carry. Penn State still has like a top 25 defense. This is a team that is very scary to watch. Is really, really impressive right now. And I joked about it on Twitter yesterday, but I do think there is a good possibility that they're going to start creeping closer and closer to that, like, hey, if like two maybe slightly unlikely things break the right way, we could be talking about Penn State in the playoffs.
Oh my God.
And the way they're playing right now, that's not insane.
Right.
The way they played against Pitt, well, yeah.
And who do they finish with?
I mean, they've already sort of got the meat of the schedule done with. So they're but they still need some help to make the Big Ten championship.
But they are in every facet right now.
Yeah.
They're a top 10 team.
Yes.
They are a top. They came into the weekend at number 12, especially with that defense healthy, especially with Saquon Barkley, not just on the ground, but an all-purpose weapon. When a defense has to account for that much danger, it just opens up everything else. And Trace McSorley, with his improvement over the course of the year, has taken full advantage.
James Franklin to Texas.
Again, we're going to have this conversation?
No, we're not. Because Texas won. We'll get that out of the way, too.
Texas did win, yeah.
Texas wins against Texas Tech. Texas. I feel like Cliff Kingsbury's job is never in doubt just because we're like...
What is he supposed to do?
Well, I mean, he's handsome, and like, who are you going to get more handsome at Texas Tech?
That's true.
The answer is nobody, unless Bob Diaco wants the job. Oh, man, we're going to get emails.
Oh, I mean, you think about teams going the opposite way. All offense, you go defense.
Yep, because UConn definitely doesn't. Yeah. We can... audition time as well in the Big 12. Baylor. Baylor was still hanging around, sort of in the conversation. They only had the one loss.
Yep.
And then you lost by 40. TCU scored more points on you than they had in their last 3 combined.
You could ask the question, or we could just go through, okay, how did TCU do in this facet of the game? How did TCU throw? How did they run? How did they turn over Baylor? How did they stop the run? You could just say really, really well to each one of those items.
Yes, to all of them. I have 2 more auditions.
Please, audition.
I want to run through really quickly. Florida.
Me.
Florida was the, I believe, number 11 team in the first college football playoff ranking. Kind of a head scratcher, considering people were saying, well, who have they played? Who have they beaten?
Loss.
One loss against Tennessee, which increasingly, is not
the best.
Super impressive.
Right.
Beat the hell out of Kentucky, beat Georgia. These are things. 14 carries for 12 yards.
God.
Every other SEC school that's played Arkansas this year has gotten at least 150 yards on the ground. Florida goes 1 for 11 on 3rd down. Did they pull their quarterback at any point? Nope.
No.
No, they did not. Because
going into this game, Arkansas was the only SEC team, and you mentioned the rushing stat, to allow double-digit yards per play twice this year.
This is what I like about this game is that it's sort of a homage to multiple Florida teams of years past. It is both all of those Steve Spurrier teams that would be in a good position and then drop some dumb games to an SEC West opponent that on paper they should beat.
Yep.
And it's Will Muschamp football. I mean, even though this game doesn't end up being that close, the defense, gets put in a hole early with a pick six on I think Florida's first offensive play from scrimmage. Overall, they hold serve pretty well, and they kept Arkansas off the board for much of the second half, just hoping Florida could generate anything on offense to get them back into this game. And disgusting.
They look like a pretty good Florida cover band. they played the hits. We would call them, oh God, what would a Florida cover band be?
Sister
Chomp!
Hazel.
Exclamation.
It's already called Sister Hazel.
Sister Hazel.
And then the last one I want to talk about is Auburn.
Okay. A little odd situation in Auburn.
Very odd.
Yeah.
John Franklin III.
2 of 4 for 9 yards.
Still not the answer, it turns out. Sean White comes in the second half, 10 of 13 for 106 and a touchdown.
5 of 5 on his first drive. Yeah.
Cameron Petway is really, 1,100 yards in only 7, because there are 2 games Auburn's played this season where he hasn't gotten a carry. So for what he's put up, especially when you consider who his quarterbacks are, just wildly impressive.
It was an interesting year going into the season, saying, oh my God, this is the year of the running back. Well, Christian McCaffrey has struggled to live up to what he did last year.
Bowl-eligible Stanford.
Excuse me. Bowl-eligible Christian McCaffrey and Stanford. Royce Freeman has had injury issues, and the Oregon offense has struggled. Not bowl-eligible. Dalvin Cook is really, really good. There hasn't been an Alabama back that, they've sort of spread it around with Derrick Henry winning the Heisman last year. This year seems to be the, there are some secretly really good runs. So Saquon Barkley, Cam Petway has been just abusive. Deonta Foreman. There are all these dudes that we didn't really consider, which is normal, that have just completely risen up and have been crazy
Or they're on teams that we just haven't been paying attention to.
Exactly.
They have not been as relevant.
It's been a great year.
Bowl eligibility. We mentioned it. Stanford, welcome.
Oregon State.
It took a little longer than we thought, but I do want to take some time to recognize some others.
Oh, please.
Wake Forest, bowl eligible.
I was hoping you were going to start
for the first time since 2011. That's fantastic.
Good for the Clawfence.
Good for Wake Forest. I believe scheduled Notre Dame for 2022 or something in Charlotte.
Ooh. Wonderful.
That's travel dollars well spent. Old Dominion, bowl eligible in their 3rd FBS season.
Impressive.
Yeah. New Mexico, bowl eligible for the 2nd straight year after
not
getting to a bowl since 2007. And Troy.
Oh, what's it? It's Neil Brown?
Sure.
Is he the head coach?
Sure. I don't know. I know it's not Larry Blakeney after years and years and years.
Right. So a young head coach in whatever it's Neil Brown. I'm almost positive it's Neil Brown.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but a young head coach and going into that Clemson game.
You're making us look like asses in front of Troy Twitter.
True. I'm almost Troy Twitter. Small but angry.
Small but fierce.
They run Clemson to the wire.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've lost since.
You know who's not bowl eligible?
Well, who? Who's that?
Officially.
Unless
there's some APR nonsense. Michigan State.
Oh my God!
Michigan State loses to Illinois. This is the first time under Mark D'Antonio that they're not going to make a bowl game. And it's not, look, everybody's allowed to have bad years.
Right.
As a Florida fan, I certainly understand this.
Go Ducks.
These things happen. But it's really just the steepness of it. This is a Michigan State team that 5 of the last 6 years won at least 10 games.
Yeah.
And now is maybe going to get to 4?
Yeah, it almost seems like it is. Have there been catastrophic injuries? It doesn't feel like there have been.
Even so,
they should have
Illinois?
It really does feel like there is a cultural thing going on with Michigan State, where just the effort is completely lacking.
I assume you mean that in a bacterial sense.
Yes, absolutely.
There's something festering. Michigan State has MRSA. Yeah. Congratulations. What else do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about USC and UCLA and the whole Pac-12 South.
Okay.
UCLA, Jim Mora officially now has the same record as Carl Durrell in the Pac-10/12. That's where we're at with Jim Mora, and it's been a struggle of a season because of Josh Rosen's injury. Yeah. Even with Josh Rosen, this was not an impressive team.
No.
USC, on the other hand, has gone from really struggling and will Clay Helton survive this year or have a job after this year to winning a whole bunch of games in a row and now appear to be, with Colorado, who they've already beaten, to be the class of a really bad division.
A somewhat bad division, I would say.
The Arizona schools, I think, are combined 1-9 in the conference.
That's fair. Yeah. They are the albatross around the neck. But I think between USC, Utah, Colorado, those are those are definitely 3 better teams than the SEC East has now.
Listen, we like to like Utah. I know we do.
Those are 3 better teams than the Big Ten West has right now.
That's true. Utah lost to Cal.
Utah did lose to Cal.
Utah lost to a Cal team that is atrocious.
Sure.
And Troy Williams has struggled to throw
But
the ball.
Utah also pushed Washington.
They did push Washington. They are a decent team. It's just at the top of the Pac-12
Cal did
South.
not push Washington.
Cal did not push Washington. Cal, Jake Browning had a hugely efficient day. Miles Gaskin a little beat up, but still nice on the ground. Yeah. And Washington's defense is really good against Cal. USC looked very good against Oregon. Oregon sort of made it a game in the sort of second quarter. It was 17-7 there for a while. Right. But Oregon just ultimately could not find the offense, could not find a way to protect Justin Herbert or run the ball at all. And USC Washington now appears to be outside of the Apple Cup to be the highest level game we have left in the conference.
That's probably right, yeah. I'm going to swerve the car like slightly to the right.
Okay, please do.
I do like USC looks a lot better right now. And they're a much more interesting team than they were the first month of the season. The Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the SEC are all serving as an effective warning to the Big 12, like, hey, championship games may not be that awesome because it's entirely possible we get a 3-loss team coming out of the Pac-12 South, playing an undefeated Washington team, which at that point is not going to do anything to raise Washington's resume or really impress anybody, and only possibly going to hurt the Pac-12's only chance at getting in the playoff.
Yeah, I suppose a Colorado team which they haven't played. They haven't played against Colorado. That's an interesting win if they play them in the championship game.
I suppose. But it's also not going to, I don't think that's going to strongly move the needle.
Correct.
Do you know who controls the Big Ten West right now?
Is it Wisconsin?
No.
Who?
It's Minnesota.
Why is it Minnesota? Oh,
Minnesota
I guess it
controls
is.
their own, they control their own destiny.
Right.
If we get Minnesota, this Minnesota team, which barely beat Colorado State, which barely beat Rutgers, like, if that's the team that you're playing in the Big Ten championship game, that does nothing for you. And then the worst of them all is, like, pick whatever trash SEC East team you want. It's entirely possible Alabama's playing a team that already has 4 losses in Atlanta. And, like, what is the point? It doesn't do anyone any good. So, like, good job, Big 12, staying in the news for doing nothing and, sort of just fussing
and something stupid's going to happen. Like somebody, a Tennessee lineman or a Florida lineman or something, they're going to hurt Jalen Hurts or something like that.
That would imply that they tackle him.
Fair enough.
So.
It's not a bad point. Anywhere else in college football you want to highlight? We talk Big Ten. We talk Big 12.
We haven't mentioned.
Oklahoma survived in Ames.
That's true.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned the earliest game from this Saturday.
That's true. You have a very good stat about the quality of Notre Dame's losses.
Yes, Notre Dame has now lost to Navy and Cardinal, Stanford, two losses to Colors.
You remember, who was it that, somebody had a good quote that...
But they did, you know what? They beat Syracuse, so they're 1-2 against Colors.
Oh, that's true.
I take it back.
Good for Notre Dame with their Pocahontas here. Paint with all the colors. They lose to Navy with how many possessions?
6.
6 possessions.
Which is a very Navy way to lose.
It is
a very Navy way to beat somebody, rather.
This is very true. North Carolina, I think, was impressive.
Yep.
They gave up a bunch on the ground, but not in the way of points. I think they only gave up 3 points in the second half to Georgia Tech. Virginia Tech survived Duke, which I thought that was going to be a bigger win for. Miami blew out Pitt. Impressive against Pitt.
Miami got their first win in a month. Lamar Jackson got 7 more times. These are just stupid video game numbers.
They are indeed. I will say Wisconsin, a really impressive day defensively, which should not come as a shock to anybody against Northwestern.
Rutgers almost got that first conference. Rutgers is getting so close. And next week we get Rutgers, Michigan State.
That's true.
Somebody has to walk. Unless the game is canceled, we can get. Never mind. We can cancel this game. We cannot play this game. Who would be mad?
That's true.
If we canceled Rutgers, Michigan State, and we didn't have a reason, we didn't say like it's for weather or it's like safety, whatever. If we just said, nah.
So Michigan State people would be thrilled. They'd be like, oh, I can take care of some errands today. Sure. Do some chores. Spend
some time with my family, not screaming at a television.
Georgia finally gets by Kentucky. Finally. Georgia gets by Kentucky.
Especially after Kentucky gets, Florida totally lays down against Arkansas.
Right.
Kentucky's in the driver's seat for the SEC East.
And?
No. Florida State survives NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was...
I will say,
it was an okay weekend.
You glossed over this a little bit because the story was Shaun White and how he had to come out in the second half and whatever mysterious circumstances there may or may not have been in the first half. Vandy looked really good in that first half.
Yeah.
Like Vandy's until yesterday, I don't believe they have allowed an SEC team to score 20 or more than 20 points.
Sure.
Offensively, they've had some struggles, but defensively, even with offensive struggles, they've managed to be really good.
Vandy is the scrappy 5'9" player in the NBA.
Yes.
You're like, wow, if on the right night, in the right circumstances,
They're still in it.
he can get his and he can change the game.
Oh boy.
It is not that often, and it is not for 82 games.
Right.
It's definitely not for 12 games.
That's fair enough. Elsewhere, I mean, we mentioned the Texas win. It's really nice.
Sure, I don't know. I mean, it's good in the sense that it doesn't hurt Charlie Strong at this point, but I honestly don't know what's going to happen.
I watched a good amount of Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and the final 8 minutes of that game is just like, I have no idea what's going to happen in this game.
Yep.
Kansas State used crazy good special teams to keep putting themselves in good field position.
And a smart offensive pass interference to almost put themselves.
A really smart one, yeah. So. Other than that, I don't know if there was a ton that moved the needle. Boise State won a game.
Check the old Facebook.
Let's check Facebook.
Check the old.
Let's see what
Facebook.
the people are
Western
talking
Michigan
about.
continues unabated, unstoppable.
They won Tuesday night?
Yeah.
Almost
a week ago.
Almost a week ago, they won their Week 10 game.
Now I like this part. This is the part where we see if Dan figures out how he can.
Well, I hit refresh so we can see.
What's the Wi-Fi password?
Oh, what is the Wi-Fi password?
How long is this going to
It's hold on. We are slowly loading. We might have to jump ship. It is very slow. It's getting there. Look at this. We're an internet company.
We're bad.
And the internet is not good. All right, I think we're just gonna bail. Oh, well,
Is it?
Okay, hold on. It's slowly but surely getting there. And I do not. Oh, there we are.
There we are.
It depends who you ask. Man, anything you want to use to kill time? Did you eat anything good yesterday? No? I had a good turkey sandwich.
It wasn't a day to waste on.
All right, this is garbage.
Okay, we won't answer any Facebook questions.
No more Facebook. We'll answer them in the comments after the show on YouTube and on Facebook. So leave any questions or comments, and we are going to get to them. So with that, his name is Ryan. My name is Dan. Thank you very much for watching. Listen to the Solid Verbal. Listen to the Shutdown Fullcast. Listen to Podcast Ain't Played Nobody. We will be here next week. See you soon.